Breaking news. They're coming for the kids. We're coming for them! Sisters broken badges flashing in the night. Knock down doors, no warrant, no right. Take the children, tear the families apart. Hide behind protection while you rip out the heart. Files fabricated, lies on the stand. Judges in their pocket, money changing hands. Parents screaming, cameras never show. The real abuse happens when the CPS shows. Scott ever standing, fighting Tennessee DCS. For separation, they tore the family from his chest. Placed on a registry, no charges, no crime. Blount County DCS crossing every line. Evers versus the state, lawsuit in federal court. Exposing the corruption, tearing that system apart. Years of battle, justice delayed, but not denied. A father's resolve with truth on his side. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fall. We fight for the families. We fight for the free. CPS. Your time is over. You'll see. Another case buried, another life destroyed. Numbers manipulated, stories over deployed. They call it protection, we call it abduction. State-sponsored kidnapping, legal corruption. Parents labeled unfit for daring to speak. Question the system and they label you weak. We document every raid, every lie, every theft. The resistance is growing, no more silent regret. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fade. We fight for the families. We fight for the free. CPS. Your time is over. You'll see. You took the innocent. You destroyed the home. Oh, now the people are waking. And we're coming for your throne. No more silence. No more fear. The revolution starts right here. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every single day. Got it for CPS. Your kingdom's gonna break for every parent, for every child set free. CPS, we're gunning for thee. This is the podcast, Gunning for CPS, hosted by Scott Evers. Relentless in his fight, Evers versus Tennessee DCS. A father who refuses to yield, exposing every injustice, demanding accountability, reclaiming what was taken. The battle continues. Stay vigilant. The truth is our weapon. The system has fallen. Blount County CPS. Your reckoning has arrived! More lies! No more lies! Gonna rivers rising from the ashes of deceit. Blount County CPS. shake, hear the thunder roll. The truth is a weapon and it's claiming its toll. This is the reckoning. Gonna have us bring in the storm. Plum County CPS, your reign is torn. The reckoning. Justice screams your name in fire. For every stolen child, for every broken empire. The reckoning is here. Burn higher. Years of separation, pain they try to hide. Your gun stands unbreakable, fueled by righteous pride. Plum County DCS crossed the final line. Now the lawsuit strikes like lightning, exposing every crime. No mercy for tyrants hiding behind the state. The people are awake and they seal your fate. Power you abuse will crumble into dust. The Father's war is raging, injustice we trust. Feel the ground shake, hear the thunder roll. The truth is a weapon and it's claiming its toll. This is the reckoning. Gonna have us bring in the storm. Plum County CPS, your reign is torn. The reckoning. Justice screams your name in fire. For every stolen child, for every broken empire. The reckoning is here. Burn higher. You took the
Well, who are we going to piss off today with our knowledge and education about our rights, about what's exposing what's going on across the nation and across the world here on Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner. That's right. We are both national and international syndicated. We have several other people that repeat this throughout other places across the country that do replay this, as well as it's repeated overseas. We reached to places like to New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, England. We have a few people there from Germany that actually reaches out and watches the show. So I want to welcome you guys. They may not get a chance to watch it live, but they do take and check us out, because you can, if you ever miss a show, you never really miss a show, because you can always go back on YouTube channel, Gunning for CPS, and look at some of those past shows. And I encourage you, if this is your first time watching, this is definitely the show that you want to take and go back and watch those shows, because we dump a lot of information. Sometimes we're here to report the news. Other times we're here to dump that knowledge and education on you, but we try to tie this all together to where the idea is to get the word out, the education, the experiences, so on and so forth out there for somebody else that is maybe ahead of the curve, or they've done this before. That way they can help people that are not knowledgeable to actually take and know how to fight and learn how to fight, and what some of the processes they need to do, because we get stuck in this process system to where these states, policies, procedures, and codes and statutes and all this other stuff, when we just want to live free and live under the Constitution. And a lot of those statutes and codes, policies, and procedures are not constitutional. We've been picking those out all over the place. Like I said, states have them left and right. Well, this is one of the stories we're going to cover tonight. Is actually if you guys are familiar, and you guys have gone through and actually done some studying through CPS, that every state has actually got a section of their handbook, their policies and procedures dealing with tribal children. In other words, across this country, you've got people that will take that there are certain areas, whether it's on the East Coast, some of it's on the West Coast, and these are the some of the tribes of what some people have called the Native Americans, or indigenous people. You'll have to forgive me, brain fart. But for tonight's show, we have a little something special. Somebody actually got me this. If you don't know what this is literally a jar of fucks to give. So this is like you're only this so much of this to take and give out. But guys, I want you to welcome our guest for this evening, Megan Ashley Rose Dodd on Facebook, and you can catch her there. But tonight we're going to go through this thing. It's our little thing for our show. So I have a jar of fucks to give. So tonight, literally, somebody says, here, you need this. Why? Because you usually don't have a fuck. So here, I've been given some more fucks to give. So now I have two fucks to give. So that's it for tonight. but dealing with the foolishness and everything we do. But you're now tell us a little bit, Megan, like where you're from. What's some of the pre-story? Let's connect up with some of that stuff here for the viewers.
Okay, so my backstory is I ended up having kids and I ended up being a full time parent before I ended up running into a guy who I didn't know at the time had abused 5 children. DHS unsubstantiated the abuse with 5 children, and I have proof against it. Like, they let him go on knowing that not only he abused children and 5 of them, but also this was a military man who was in the military, so I don't even know if he was notified. And like a lot of weird stuff happened in that case to where a lot of the files don't make sense because some of those pages are like legitimately missing. So that case like really bugged me because like before that case, I had full custody of my son and my daughter through Osage Nation in Pawhuska. And that's a tribal court. Well, the judge, I did some digging, but the judge in that court wasn't even supposed to, it should have been even in court. Honestly, they should have reprimanded him the last time. And I did some more digging and I find out that like they're all connected, like the CPS workers, the police, the judges, the attorneys that are taking these
And you can
cases.
find, if you haven't got this yet, what you're looking for that actually shows that on paper for evidence is
Yeah.
called use. So the
Yeah.
methods of how they all come together is literally in documents in every single one of your states, guys. So if you need to show that RICO action in some of your federal filings, look for the MOUs. You can do those under I'm going to lose it tonight. Sorry about that. But under the free document, the FOIA requests, you can get those via FOIA requests, or they're usually out on the internet. You could just look for them. But that will show you your RICO cases right there because it shows how they all work together of what like Megan's talking about. Yes, they are connected. And when you go into these, well, there's a financial interest, but this tells each person's role in this scheme.
Yes.
And this is what they don't understand. Well, this is just an internal policy or something else. No, this is how you're planning it out.
No, I went further.
Excuse me.
I looked it up and online, you can look it up. The Supreme Court, when COVID took over, need I remind you, I was in medical. I'm a CMA advanced in gastro and took care of people who were on ventilators in 2 of the only facilities in Oklahoma. And so my children were taken during that time while I was saving people's life and everything. And I found out how truly messed up COVID was because our Supreme Court put for them to send cases to the Supreme Court of everybody who was abused and neglected during that state time. And I spoke at my Capitol in 2024, and they took Ryder, my own tribe, Cherokee Nation. And shout out to you, Cherokee Nation, because you did wrong in this. And I have Chief Hoskin, so that's another federal witness against the only tribe he has. So it was a huge issue last time when they took Ryder because I had to speak up at the Capitol about my story last time, and I was retaliated against because I started looking into Cherokee Nation's database, and they ended up kicking me out of their IP because I started figuring out that when they did McGirt during COVID and everything, that it was kicking the criminal cases back to the tribes for them to investigate their own tribal stuff. I started getting overwhelming cases of domestic violence, like my case, and them going after the victims and taking their children and then not putting them in safety places. And then everybody just sitting there and ganging up on those victims. And I seen a lot. And then that's when I started speaking out. And my life was put in danger. I don't know how many times. I've had attorneys tell me, hey, move out of the state of Oklahoma. I've had the federal court tell me to move out of the state of Oklahoma while my federal lawsuit was put in place last time when they took Ryder. And now I've got it where Haskell County, shout out to you, Haskell County, just like you said, I have 2 fucks left to give. You mess with my kid, this is the 3rd time. I've got my child back that's been traumatized. I do not play when it comes to my kid, and I just went national. I do not care. Let it be known, if you get in my way when it comes to my kids and you're doing corrupt shit, I'll unravel it. I don't care. And you know what? It's a game to me now because, I'm for all the children and all the children's rights, moms, dad, everybody, like, and, and for the kids' best interest. And that's where these court systems think that, playing with these kids, and manipulating these children and then sending them back to their parents to mess them up, while they're traumatized, and then not having to go through what they went through, and then coming and re-trauming. I mean, my daughter's 6 years old. She's been traumatized her whole life, and they knew about it. They knew his record. And that's what's even more disturbing is they let this man continuously go around because his brother was a rat for Thomas Nave and run around causing hell and knew about it. He should have been stopped for domestic violence and abusing children. And instead he was like, here, go cause more heck. And then, touching on my tribe and stuff is like most Native Americans are sexually assaulted, were abused, or were killed. Yeah. I've been in that fear for my whole life, and I've had situations like that happen. So it's really harmful to sit there and act like we're the problem when you're not addressing the situation through the routes that we're trying to take and not putting protective orders on situations that really need protective orders. And then you're retaliating against state officials, LEOs, senators, governors. Hey, Governor Stitt, where the heck are you? I know you investigated my case. I seen you at the Capitol. You had DHS investigate my case. You know right now that my child was stolen from Haskell County. None of them. And it's sick because we have my friend.
But your guys' numbers there in Haskell County, they've been growing though. Tracking that over the past 4 or 5 years upon my research is, there was 1 year it almost doubled. It's like, how can it go from this to this? What was the major change or something that happened for that, other than the fact that
look who's funding Stigler Police Department and these LEOs.
Yeah.
Donations.
Yeah. Well, and we've known about these donations from even a lot of the whistleblowers. Now, a lot of people have said, stuff, we covered some of that stuff with APAC, to where there are foreign entities, whether they're our allies or not, they should not be influencing our elections. They should not be lobbying. We need to put Americans and America first. And the reason for that is, beyond the politics, is let's go back to the Constitution, because the Constitution of the United States clearly states that we, the people, run this. The government that we have it's what we allow as the people. So when we are quiet and we don't speak up and do things like this show and stuff, of course they're going to keep doing it, because it's that false power thinking that, hey, we're kind of like this, we're under a monarchy or this, or you'll hear the word and pay attention to this. And if you haven't caught this yet, how many politicians use our great democracy?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We don't have a democracy. We have a republic.
Yeah.
And the nations have their own setup. There is a federal treaty between the United States and tribal lands saying that the states can't even interfere. They are like a sovereign, like a nation within a nation. It's like the Vatican inside Rome. Yeah. You can't touch it. You can't do anything on there. If they're caught outside, then yes, they could face something if they did something on the outside of the nation, so to speak. From my understanding that, and I know there's a lot of people out there watching the show that are part of a tribe, within, different ones. Now, I had a grandmother or great grandmother that was Cherokee, during that time when they were going from the East Coast to the West Coast, and how they ended up regrouping around the West Coast, the East Coast here. And then they got the tribal land over there in North Carolina and East Tennessee that's there. And, and I've been up to the res. I've got a couple friends that are, Cherokee. They're in the book. They have the bloodline, the whole 9 yards. And that's a lot too, that's kind of scary is, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the tribal children, they literally have to do a blood test now, and you have to have so many DNA markers to be considered part of that tribe, is it not? Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless you're in the book bloodline, because they were always worried about it, back and forth. So, but there's a lot to do with those things of federal treaties that states have absolutely no right. It's just like federal land. It's like you don't go in there. But what's happening, not just in Oklahoma, but in several places, even the Seminole in Florida and some of these others, or even in North Carolina, it's the same thing. And they used to be, I want to call it the Skahiki experiment or project, where they tested all those medicines on the tribes, that ended up killing them and wiped out a bunch of them. And then when they went through, oh, well, we're going to give you modern medicine, and all they were abortion clinics, but they were also not just abortion clinics. They were also basically taking their right to reproduce. It was a sterilization. It's like, why are we doing this? Well, we want to give you aid, but those times have worked off. But what give this state person even the ability? One, where's your tribal police that should have been there at the line? Hey, you can't enter this nation. I mean, and it comes down to maybe a suggestion to the nations. Maybe they need to start building walls like what we do at our borders. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because they're getting federal funding from it. And what's disgusting is like, it's killing our tribe. Like, it is literally killing our tribe. They're trying to end our tribe by doing this. And, and I knew that the town was kind of messed up when it happened, because like, I remember when he had filed the PO, I had brought it in front of the judge, which is, I had a pass with this judge even before. When Ryder was taken last time, he didn't issue a VPO when they came back to take Ryder. And when it went viral, he like stepped away from the PO, knew he violated and this is the same guy that we're talking about that had a history. Like, the judge blankly ignored all the evidence and didn't care. And I was just like, what in the heck? And then the next time, my ex was getting a PO, I had proof that he had stated that if I sign over the deed, then he'll drop the PO. And I had even recordings and everything of them, like, literally saying that the officers told him to kill me on the property. Like, he was talking to my mom, and like, literally in a recording that I had posted on my Facebook, like, literally said, the cop said that he could shoot me. And I'm on the deed to that house. I own that house. And so they were going to shoot me on my property. And I'm like, where's our constitutional rights again, And that video went viral. And then they get me for public outrage afterwards in retaliation, And it's like, you're going viral because you violated my constitutional rights. And now you're coming after me again, after my rights, throwing me in jail every single time I try to go down there and get my property, have illegally kicked me out of my federal lawsuit because of the protective order and them not allowing me my federal lawsuit because I'm a pro se litigant on my own case. Like, there was a lot that happened, and then they took Ryder into custody illegally, and I've got the recording of it illegally being orchestrated, the governor's office being like known about it, and like no one stepping up. And this is a child taken on Indian reservation underneath a judge who didn't have jurisdiction to even take the case because he wasn't even her child custody judge. Like, they were supposed to file a kidnapping charge. They even admitted on recording, because I even have it on my Facebook, that, hey, we can't press charges against ourselves. It will have to be Stigler Police Department to do it. And then Stigler Police, and I was just like, what the heck?
That's false.
Yeah.
That's
and
false
I'm
information.
Like, an idiot.
That report, darling, has to go, one thing, to Washington, D.C., to the Attorney General's office. That has to go there. That it is now a federal matter, because crossing that is a federal thing. The local, as you said before, well, this goes here. Somebody needs to educate that department on their jurisdiction. I mean, 100%. And you'll have to forgive me, for some reason the internet cut out, so you took over the stage just fine. Every time we get talking about something sensitive somewhere, I either lose the guest or I lose my side, and it's like, you guys just hate us. You just hate us, getting that information out, because people need to hear this stuff of what's wrong, what's going on.
And they
And,
need to know their rights. So if they do get violated, you can take a stand and actually do something, because we have to hold these people accountable because they're not holding themselves accountable. Like, we've got to stop allowing this to go on and just standing by and not doing anything. People's lives, like mine, yours, and everybody else who does stand up, our lives are at risk. It's not a game of Monopoly. Like, we knew once we pulled the trigger on this, that our life, we came to the conclusion, if something happens to us, that's what happens to us, because this is this is where God put us, and we're not going to stop fighting for children. But like everybody else who's standing around, like, this is not a joke. Like, I mean, it's happening all over. It's not like, and when I say my kid was never in CPS custody, the law enforcement had lied, called DHS hotline, and took her in the law enforcement custody, as the officer Joey Bray had threatened me while I was in custody, saying, "I'm going to teach you respect." And and then he said he was going to take my daughter, and that I was trespassed from a property when I was there. And I was like, how can you trespass me from a property if I'm sitting right here in your county, when you just gave my keys to my mom while I was locked up when I had possession of my keys? Like, what do you mean? And they were trying to flip it back on me because I knew my rights and what they had done. And I was just like mind blown by it. And I was like, no.
Well, and here's the part, getting back to the Constitution, that I think people are waking up, especially the parents, of saying, and this is some of the thing I think that scares a lot of people, even with my federal filing, of asking that constitutional question is, did they ever have jurisdiction? And if so, you're looking at multiple states, 10 to 15 years. Well, they've given us this, but they did not give you the power to, number one, you cannot hear these cases. So you can't adjudicate them. Why? Okay. There's a big difference between, you versus CPS, and there's a juvenile part of it. Well, let's get the kid back on track and get him back out there, or whatever it is. But as soon as they stepped over the line and they did weaponize, Title IV, and weaponize CPS in every single way, because it's a way to make money. But if they've been making that money illegally, by what? You got to get the kids somehow. What are you going to do? Increase the crime? Well, now they're saying, now you're adding criminal codes to civil court charges, which is not even legal, even under their own state's constitution. And then just a flat out thing of just saying, listen, this is communism. This is socialism. If I don't agree, or I, buck up against the government or this or that, no. Your contract specifically says the Constitution. And if we became constitutional again, it would fix all this stuff with everything with CPS. Go back to being constitutional, which means what? No knocking on my damn door. That's called solicitation. Right there. Well, it's a voluntary service.
Yeah, and I took it a step further and even notified the president on all of Oklahoma, on the Indian side of it, of like what was happening, because McGirt, if you get down to the bottom of it, McGirt was a pedophile. Need I remind you?
Right.
Like his case is still ongoing, even within the nation, and the nation was sitting there slapping on no charges and letting them walk. And that's when they kicked me out of their system.
If you followed Blount County, Tennessee, we've had the same thing that made national news. We had a teacher here that was moved around by the school system for like 18 to 20 years, over, I think, 80 or 100 kids. He only stood trial for 20 and only got 6 months deferred. So after that, his record's wiped clean. And until the people in the county started making a fit to where he could go back to teaching right away, he never lost his teaching license at first, till enough people made a stink. And then, well, now I think he got like a 1.5 or 2.5 year suspension, where guys like, how is this person even allowed around kids again?
Yeah.
I mean, this is unbelievable. This is criminal court.
Yes.
And then you had another one, Diane Lashsmith, that her son was involved in a federal child pornography federal case. And she helped her son destroy evidence. Like, they convicted her of this shit. And went back to the county. What are you going to get for this? And then they even had some of the people around here that are part of this, which just red flagged everything for me, because now we know who the ones that hide the pedophiles, the pedos. And what I don't get is the people, if you had your true education of this, here's the rule. And I'm going to explain this so people don't take me wrong. If a CPS worker comes in, there is no the court order or the warrant to come into the house, especially if the children are in the house, must be signed by an Article 3 judge by law, because it deals with Fourth Amendment protection. That's why a family court judge does not have jurisdiction or power. They are in Article 1. So unless Congress has named them specifically by name to endow them with the powers to have a certain part of that Article 3, whether it be Fourth Amendment issues or anything else, but that has not been done. It's not on record. Most of those special counsels that they do for that, or given special powers, are generally with somebody that's sitting there waiting for the Senate Oversight Committee and this, that, what, to write warrants. That's all they do, is sit there and just sign warrants. Is this probable cause enough to do it? Yeah, just sign it. Just sign it. And it's a low-level Article 1 judge. It's almost like clerking for the Senate, so to speak. But if you really knew your rights, and the CPS comes in, even with law enforcement, badges, guns, the whole 9 yards, let me make something constitutionally clear. This is why the Second Amendment was the Second Amendment. As soon as they cross your threshold, it doesn't matter who they are, who they work for, or anything else, if they don't have a warrant or probable cause that they can articulate who is in immediate danger or this, that, and your first appearance, because you better articulate it, and you better have your body cam on, because you better articulate it right on there, and you better do and follow protocol, which is radio it into dispatch. So there is a record of, I see something going on. I'm at this house. I'm getting ready to come in. You have to call dispatch and put that on the record. It's a must. Mm-hmm. So you guys can subpoena those dispatch records as well. Keep that in mind. But as soon as they walk past the threshold, they are now an enemy. Mm-hmm. They have now entered your home illegally and unconstitutionally, no different than a thief trying to break into your house. That job title, a sheriff, or that badge or anything else, that badge was gone as soon as they took and walked past that and broke the Constitution. That immunity is gone. Yep. That protection by the sheriff's office, the state, and everything else, it's gone. That makes you a basic criminal. So if they're coming in, and let me give you an example. Yeah, I shot and killed them all. And what did they want? They were reaching after my children, looking to kidnap my children. Well, they were here, didn't know. Well, then show me the warrant, because I was never given one for them to enter, and there is no probable cause. Call radio dispatch. When you articulate that, because here's the thing, in a local shooting, they can't do it the state police or an equivalent of like the FBI, like Tennessee has TBI. I don't know if Oklahoma has like OBI.
OSBI,
FBI. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, and that's what's crazy is most of Oklahoma is Indian territory, and none of these attorneys know Indian law. And that's what's really mind blowing. I know more about Indian law than these attorneys. And I'm like, okay, let me school you real quick. You can't do this. And that's the problem with Judge Henderson and, Haskell County is, he doesn't abide by ICWA, and he didn't, because my tribe was never there. My tribe actually knew about the kidnapping. I actually have text messages with Chief Hoskins and them saying, hey, contact 911. Your daughter was stolen. You had full custody of her. We gave back custody. We know that, what happened before. No, we're not messing with you again. They got smart, and now it's just okay, well, who's pressing charges now? And now I have to go through Choctaw because it happened on Choctaw Reservation, and it's they're trying to run my kids through state court now. And I'm like, no. The dad's white and I'm Indian and my kids are Indian. And no, your corrupt judge is not running my kids' cases because I asked him to recuse.
I have precedents. The tribal, that contract cancels out because it's federal, it's not state. So you have to abide by that federal treaty.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not, they are blatantly ignoring Cherokee Nation's, rights and everything, and taking children and everything. And it's just, it's annoying.
So what is some of the process you've had to go through to report it to the tribes? I mean, walk some of the viewers through that.
Okay, so I've reported everything. I mean, everybody who knows about my case is the FBI, the OSBI, the governor, his cousin. Like I have contacted multiple DHS workers. Like, I mean, and there's been whistleblowers all throughout the whole thing. I mean, attorneys have sat idle and seen it. Private investigators have sat by and seen it. I mean, I've went all the way up that I possibly can, even to Trump, and sent a green receipt to make sure that he received it, and sent my files to the DOJ. And I got evidence of that. And I was just like, okay, so no one really generally cares. It's just all about saying whatever we need just to get in office. And, and then let's still act like we're going to turn a blind eye. Like, no, that's not happening anymore. Like,
that you would think that the chief would actually send tribal police onto other land and then them argue jurisdiction and say, well, since you won't respect it, we're not going to respect it. We're going to take you back to tribal land, put you in tribal jail. And you're going to sit there till you release our hostages, because right now you have a hostage and we're going to take a hostage. And then let the federal government get involved with everything else. Go, this will stop now. We've told you about this. This is not going to work. I know it's a bold move, and I hope you do encourage the several of the different nations to watch this, to gain that momentum and realize their power and their authority of saying, you're not honoring a federal treaty. And if you're going to kidnap one of ours, we're going after, whether it's the district attorney or them, we're going to charge them with something on, say, the caseworker. We're going to arrest them and anybody else, and we're going to put them in tribal jail. Now we've got your people, and we're charging them with felonies.
That's what I'm fixing to do. That's what's funny, is because I called CPS. Okay, so I took a page, because if you're in the state of Oklahoma, you have to report abuse or neglect, and if you don't, then it's failure to for everything.
Failure to report.
Yeah. Well, I ended up, when they illegally took my kid, I reported the mental abuse of Ryder and everything against its own agency. And I called that hotline and I reported it against them, because the governor even knew about it. And I put that all in recording. And then I'm taking that to the Choctaw Nation, because it happened on Choctaw Nation's prosecutor's reservation. And I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? Either you press these charges or gear up. I'm suing you guys too, because you guys are now violating my rights if you want to sit there and not charge them, because that's criminal. Like, that's not civil. Like, there is civil and then there's criminal. That's criminal because that child was never legally placed within that position. It was unsubstantiated. The child should have came back with me. This child should have never been taken even anyways, because my chief gave me my kid back last time. So for this state judge to think he's over a chief of Cherokee Nation, then we have an issue, you know? And
violation
so
of treaty.
Yeah, you're violating our treaties, and then you act like we are going to compact with you. Keep your hands off our Indian children. Like, this is not okay. And and I don't care how many times I have to take it, and like I said, it's jurisdiction right now, and we both know it's jurisdiction right now. It went from Stigler Police Department to Choctaw. They sent it over to Choctaw, and I've been in contact with Choctaw. And so I'm waiting for the judge that was over the protective order before with the same individual to rehear that case, because he was the one that told me to honestly sue the judges and everybody else who violated my rights before. So I have a lot of faith in God that, he's put me in the right direction and he's helped me along the way, and I always pray over my situation and, everything that I do. And, and he guides me a lot, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm half, hood and half holy, pray with me, don't play with me, because like, it's about kids, like, who's sticking up for these kids? Like, and where did we go wrong to where it's okay to sit there and allow this to continue to happen?
We have valued money and things more than people, and that just goes back to bad raising. But this, they've expounded upon what they've been doing in the nations, to the, even to their own people, to the American people, just in general, of here, let me destroy your family, let me destroy your heritage, let me, give you a chance or a shot to grow up, rather than let me psychologically break you so bad with so much PTSD you can't function with the rest of the world, which then promotes alcoholism, drug abuse, and increases the prison populations, which the prison populations are, once again, they're all done for profit. All this stuff is done for profit. And I was talking to somebody today, and this actually made the news down in Florida. I don't think people realize the power they have. And let me give you this example. Down in Florida, the inmates actually, because a lot of the stuff, the laundry's done by the inmates, the the library's run by the inmates, the laundry, the food, all this stuff is run by the inmates, right? And they've got people that are waiting for trial, and then people that have been convicted. They're like in different sections, is the way it's been explained to me. Well, because the inmates were running and self-sustaining themselves non-violently, they just woke up because they were working road crews, they were doing this, they were doing that. They literally just said, I'm not going to work, and you can't force me to go to work. The whole prison. So there was no food being cooked, no laundry being done, and none of the work crews out doing anything else, and that screws up the guys that are on the outside that are watching these things and like, what do I do? I've got to get so much of this done, or there's something coming up and we have to get this clean or something. There's nobody that they're not going to work. They just will not work. They're not even getting out of bed. They're just sleeping for 3 or 4 days. Shut it down, because here's the thing. The prison now is in breach of contract with the state or whatever, because they are required to give so much to feed them so many times a day to turn around and make sure they have, at least decent, livable conditions. And but once again, if they don't do that, that's part of their profit margin. This is why it's so lucrative, and it's done at bare minimum. So when they use the inmates as the workforce, they don't have to pay somebody from the outside to come in.
Yeah.
So when they quit doing that, well, you still have to meet your contract standards. So how quick are you going to hire a bunch of people to come in here and run this kitchen, maybe for a week or 2 weeks till you get us back working or something? And that was part of their negotiation. But literally, it's the one thing every warden, I want you to think about the warden in every prison fears that they'll get that knowledge. And to hold them accountable, hey, these are the things you're supposed to be treating us decent. We're supposed to be having, the rights, so we still have some rights. All these things are in your handbooks, to where you just got a bunch of crappy people. But think about it. Even in a prison system, if the prisoners want to uprise, not even violently, get together and just shut the shit down.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we got a lot more power than I think people take in whether it's the nations. If they would come together and say, well, you trespassed on tribal land. We now have a warrant out for your arrest for you and anybody else that was on this land. You are going to face kidnapping charges, felony criminal charges, and there's a punishment here on the land, even if it's a fucking death, the death penalty or whatever for kidnapping something. I don't know what the nations have or what they have in the tribal, but I guarantee you it ain't gonna go over too well. And then
I do. I brought it with me just to read so that they knew what they were getting charged with, since it is national, and so that they know that.
Somebody's done their homework, guys. That knowledge and education is going to piss somebody off. I'm telling you guys.
And I wanted them to know, because I know that they're watching this because they've been watching my Facebook and stalking me, that in Choctaw, just specifically Choctaw, because this happened on Choctaw Reservation, need I remind you, perjury is subsection 491. And that's set by a judge if they decide if you get out on bail or not, which is, I don't think that this judge would really honestly play. So, I mean, I'm here for it. So that's why I came prepared, because I want them to know what they're fixing to get, because that's what they get for committing the crime. Like, you do the crime, you do the time. And then, like false statements and false evidence is subsection 281. And, and this is all set by a judge. And, federal time is not something that you play with. You do 85% of that time, and then you have to pay restitution and everything for that, And so not only is it civil, but it's criminal. So not only am I going to make sure that they get charged criminally, but then I'm going to civilly sue them, because when it comes to my kids and everybody else's kids, you're not going to get away from me, because like I said, I did my homework and I got all of, and like you said, you look up their policies and procedures for whatever tribe, and you can find out how to have somebody criminally charged. And then if the prosecutors don't step up and let it be known, because if the prosecutors don't step up, then they can be charged, because then they would be accessory to these crimes. So play with me, because I do know my rights, and I'm not going to
guys, that same thing goes for if you're in the state side, not in the tribe nation. That also goes for your district attorney. Like in my district attorney's case over here, when I went to report the crimes, they failed to investigate. The police department, the sheriff's department, we don't take reports on state workers. It's a criminal action. You have to, and it happened in your jurisdiction. You must take a report. Regardless, your sheriff has the ability to arrest judges, magistrates, even state workers. Your sheriff can go in there and arrest the governor.
Yes.
That's the power of a constitutional sheriff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on this side. On the nation side, it's the same way, but they're going to hold them accountable. You have got to enforce.
Oh, and I'm holding him accountable. The governor of Oklahoma, I am adding to my lawsuit. I'm sorry, but if you've seen it and you knew it and you didn't do anything, you're complicit with it. And I'm sorry, but I went to the Capitol and I spoke out. I was retaliated against. I called his office, and then they told me that I was threatening, because I told them that I would legally sue them if they didn't do anything. And they said that I was threatening them, and I recorded every single call and let them know that, hey, no, that's not right or legal. Like, you can't do that. And then me and his picture was circulating, because they had joked around saying that I need to be in FBI protection, and had posted my picture and the governor's picture. And so like our picture together went around all over, and I was like, address this situation, and they didn't. So it's like, okay, where's the, thank you for all the evidence. Now I'm going to sue your governor. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not playing. Your governor violated my tribe's treaties, and he's Cherokee at that. My mind's blown. Our governor is Cherokee.
Well, I think that a lot of the people that have been tried this because they're at a different point, but I think we've advanced enough in this time and in our world. Maybe it is time for not only the people, and I think this is what that scares them, is everything in the reckoning movement. As we've done this is just putting things right. This has nothing to do with revenge. It has nothing to do with anything other than we need to go back to right. Why? And what is right? Constitutional. If it's not constitutional, and they have taken and overstepped their bounds, but we have the power. It's a bunch of power hungry people. And I'll tell you, some of the worst people, and this is what I'm going to go out and say, that have done public service. There's a few good ones. Yeah. But the majority of them, as they say, well, it's only a few bad apples. No, it's a ton of bad apples. Yeah. Because really they have not been trained properly to understand, let alone you talk to some of the, now listen, I heard this statistic and it blew my mind. And this was from the Supreme Court. I believe it was Clarence Thomas. Turn around, and actually he did an interview, so on and so forth. He goes, what our biggest problem is he goes, even when I graduated law school and some of the other things I went to, I think he said that they did no classes on the Constitution or just the bare minimum, and spent the rest of their time learning codes and statutes and all this other stuff. He goes, which doesn't make sense, because the Constitution should be the thing that they're most versed at. And if those things don't run in harmony, this is where they get the people from the bar to be their fall guys for the puppet masters. Yep. Is because let me educate you in these high-end colleges, Harvard, Yale, and all these other things of law, but you never stop to ask the question, is it constitutional? And most of them think, well, whoever wrote this must have done their due diligence. Once again, don't assume anything, because it makes out of what? An ass out of you and me. Don't assume something. You've got to take and do your due diligence. And there's a lot of people, even in politics, that they assume whoever's done this has done their due diligence to make sure not only does the bill or whatever it may be to be passed, to be statute or code or even federal law. And I know a lot of people put a lot of precedence on case law. Well, when you enter the constitutional arena, forget case law. And this is why this has been a big thing. Why? Because there's things called constitutional canons. Mm-hmm. And a constitutional canon is not up for interpretation. It's a must, the same way as judicial canons. And so you did not do this. You did not. And these are things you must do. Now, when you go with the tribes, you start picking that damn treaty apart, guys. If you're going through that, this is what the treaty says here. This is document. In other words, listen, to forget arguing in court. Get it on paper, file it as a notice, file it as a motion, file something in there, an affidavit of truth, no matter what it may be. And this is pretty standard because I believe my understanding of the tribal law, though, is it's considered common law. In other words, everybody is common. There's no fancy words to it. There's none of the crazy Latin or anything else. It's just basic, average, common sense court.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've done away with a lot of those. And when we go back to those and you go into, we'll say you're going for a 1983, because this is going to go, hey, I'm going to sue you civilly under a 1983. It may be a 1985 and a 1986. Mine had all three. Okay. And look up those definitions. This is why, don't listen, guys. You may say, well, I'm getting ready to file my 1983 case. Look at everything, because you may have more than that. There may be acts out there you're not aware of. There may be other filings because of the circumstances. Well, I'm going to do this with RICO. Okay, well, you need to look at 1985 or you need to look at 1986. Why does it meet those? Why? Because the more you stack on that, you can't wave one flag. Okay, yeah. Same way with the nations.
Yeah,
you can't wave one flag. We need all the little flags and all the little pieces together.
Or else you can't prove it. And that's where, and that's where they got too comfortable doing what they do and violating people's rights, is because, most people don't really pay attention. But like you said, it's overall, you go back to the Constitution and treaty rights, and it's like, that's undisputed. That was already put there to protect us, and we use it. And like you said, policies and procedures and state statutes do not overstomp that, no matter what they want to try to do. It just doesn't happen. There's reason for why it was put in place, is so our government didn't overtake us like other countries and stuff like that, and mostly tribal families too. Like we are very, I'm very religious, very religious. And I feel like, to me, it's like a spiritual battle, because it's like, like I'm being thrown in a task to where, like, my kid's life has been on the line, mine has, and everybody around me, and I've tried to protect people, and I've been an advocate for change, because like, who is stepping up, when we go to these people and they're not, like, we feel like, there's no one, because there's this thing of when this stipulation of, oh, if you have had a CPS case, you deserve CPS to be in your life. Like, you're a bad person, like, and they automatically just jump to the accusations, and, those accusations ruin people's lives, and then it's unsubstantiated, or if they do corrupt stuff, like, you ruin people's lives, at the end of the day. And the only person that suffers at the end of this is those children and those families that were unjustly tore apart,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge thing. To turn around and you've got that burden that, I think the national statistic was something like 83% of, or it might be even higher. 83% was the last published one that I've read, of cases that they should have never been involved. Well, what trauma have you caused?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You've now got this family on edge. You've got somebody, the place that you should feel protected the most is at home. And this is why the Fourth Amendment was what it was.
And it's like, it's the 5 civilized tribes, but like, even if we're Indian on other Indians reservations, like, aren't we the 5 civilized tribes then too? Like, You know,
Right.
does that break just because I'm a tribe on another tribal? Like, you know, and then
Right.
that feels kind of discriminatory too. Like if it's like that, because like I thought we were all band together and we weren't separated like that, you know? And so it
Yeah.
raises a lot of flags on, hey, you know what? Like, let's get this situated so that we know where we're safe at then, if that's the
Right.
situation, you
And
know?
that's the biggest thing everybody gets with CPS is I don't feel safe in my home anymore. At the same time, you get that whole thing of even if I move, now I feel like I'm on the run, like I'm the criminal. And that's one of the things of listen, unless there was something criminal, it's kind of like piss off, you're supposed to be voluntary. And there's the problem. You're not voluntary. You are forcing every bit of this. You are violating Fourth Amendment rights by coming into people's homes saying that I need to do a home investigation. Listen, guys, a warrant or a court order by an Article 3 judge only for each and every entrance. If they come back one day, well, I'll be back tomorrow. Well, it doesn't cover that. It only recovers the time that you're in there. It's not back and forth. You got to
Yeah,
have you got to have a piece of paper done. It's got to have the judge's wet ink signature. It has to have the court clerk's seal. It has to have the court clerk's signature. You cannot have anything stamped. That you want to go back to that, go back to the case law with the auto pen. You can go back there, you know, for the White House, right from there. It does not count a stamp and this that. It has to be wet ink. Why? This is what I've been telling you guys. This is why cursive is so important, because if you cannot write in cursive, you cannot sign your signature. When you do that signature, they actually can analyze that to see whether or not it's actually your signature. Why? Because of the pressure on the paper and everything else that goes. There's a whole science behind it, which is why your contracts and everything else. Now, I have noticed, guys, pay special attention. When you have to sign certain documents, there is usually a disclosure on some of the newer documents to say this substitutes for a wet ink signature. When you click the box, you are both contractually saying, I agree to this. If you don't and you want wet ink, you can request it, but you don't have to hit that box. So there's some power and some information that we keep up with technology, okay? Because they're wanting to replace that. But when you can't sign your name, what do? Let me type it, right? Where do you see a lot of those contracts or anything else people want you to sign or this or that? It's here, let me do this. That's once again, that's not here. And remember too, guys, when you're looking for stuff, whether it's tribal or not, don't always look for the things they did do. Look for the things they didn't do. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's one of those things that, well, wait a minute, your policy and procedure says you should have done this. Let me give you an example. GALs in the handbooks and this and that in my particular state. A GAL is supposed to do by the handbook and according to state policies, procedures, and all that stuff they go through an independent investigation, including pulling medical records, this and that. So when the GAL does not take and pull the medical records or even meet with the child or anything, but show up to court for a whole fucking hearing, has that person done their job? Nope, that's called fraud. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, that's fraud. Why? Because they received money from the state without completing their contractual obligations. Remember, contract law. You can look at civil cases as contract. That's what civil cases were originally for, ladies and gentlemen, was for contracts. Mm-hmm. Your marriage, why am I in divorce court over here in civil case? Because you included the state when you got the marriage license. No, it's not a joke. They are a third party. So when you divide, that's the whole point of the marriage license, because you didn't have that before. When you divide, they get a say over ending the dispute and making things fair and equitable, supposedly. That's why a lot of states don't recognize common law marriage. Why? Because then you have to go, because usually those are I choose to be with you and you've already done your contract from the beginning. But once again, our mindsets have changed in this country of staying together. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And now everything's confused to where and it's shown in our population decline. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a huge number. People are not staying together. And that's a huge problem. Why? Because what does that do for the family?
It messes with the children. Honestly. Like,
you need dads, you need moms, you need these things, you need that balance. It was created that way by the creator for a reason, because there's balance, there's harmony. The frequency's good, if you will, for some people. And, to do those particular things, that's why they go after the tribal children, this, that. Let me pull that heritage out of you. Why? Because where are they at? They're in a white home, are they not?
yeah,
Is that the
they
same thing you're
they,
seeing?
they are all in a white home. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. And they're all getting money for it. And that's why they're still there.
I'm seeing this as I'm not just, let me, Jesse K in the comments here. It goes, children are considered biological property under common law because a man is above the Constitution and laws. That is why B vote for, hold on here, a little jump in here, for public officers and officials. TF, man is a creator and a judge is. So, okay, well, let me go into that thing when we talk about creator. One, there is only one creator. We do not create anything. It's nothing original. There is only one creator that has done one thing original. Let's just make that clear. We assemble things that are already put together. Do we create? No, we build. That's why we have the word, we are builders. We are not creators. We have not created anything out of nothing. We have combined things, whether it's splitting the atom or anything else. Let me just go into that to explain to people. As far as when I refer to the creator, I'm referring to, there are many gods, big G's, little G's, but there's only one creator. One title, that's it. You can't take that away from, there's only one. No, we don't create. That is a myth. You could go back into physiology, you could go into all sorts of different sciences, rough sciences, this and that. That one thing does not change. That it comes down to that. Okay, well, I'm just going off there, and I have to explain that now, and I'm not getting on you there, Jess. I'm just getting that to clarify when somebody says creator, what are you referring to? Because you got to understand, when we talk to people, we also talk to them because your religious views may be different than mine. So unless we clearly communicate, we don't know what you're referring to when you use certain words. Let me give you an example, and this may not be Facebook friendly or anything else, but a fag. Now, here in America, a fag means one particular thing, but if you go to England, a fag is a cigarette. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I give all my English buddies all sorts of hell because they'll say, hey, let me pinch a fag. They want to, you want to what? Yeah. Excuse me? No, man, let me get a cigarette. Oh, you want to bum a smoke? Yeah, but we call it pinching the fag. It's like, because that's what they call cigarettes over there. Once again, we have to get outside, especially here in America. We need to get outside of our box and understand there is a big world out there, and not everything is the same. Not everybody grew up the same you did. Nobody's, some people have gone through things you haven't. There is a big, huge world out there. And if we think we have it, and this country is supposed to be a melting pot. And this is where a lot of that is that the best of us was supposed to rise to the top. And that was what we were supposed to learn from, is from the best of us. But we've had all this evil celebrate the differences between us and the worst of us, that now that has become prevalent. I'm having trouble with vocabulary today. Prevalent in our society, no matter where it is, that now evil is turned to good. That nobody's doing. I mean, you got other
That's
countries.
That's why I always keep this near and dear at all times, because I'm like, my Bible is like my right hand thing. Like, I mean, that's like my go-to in this situation, because like I've been alone, I've been attacked, and one thing that has been stayed consistent is what's done in the dark always comes to light, no matter how bad people like want to hide it. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of whistleblowers on mine.
Right. Yeah, they, guys, get out there, man. This intimidation factor is when one person speaks up, you can inspire 100 to do something. I've been doing this for several years now, broadcasting it. It's grown since what it has. We now reach coast to coast, internationally, everything else. We started off just some small thing, and then we started breaking stories with the stuff that we were doing. I do have my press credentials for internet. I mean, I am an international freelance journalist, listed with the IFPO. So I get that First Amendment press thing, and boy, they hate the hell out of that. What are you going to do? Stop me? Because then it's not just me you're going to fight. What do you mean? You're going to fight the Post. You're going to fight every news outlet ever if we go to court. Why? Because all I have to do is make a phone call, because they stick together when it comes to that. I do not this. I do not that. There's some major unions and a lot of other things too. But once again, when it comes down to that, they will go to bat. That's one thing I guarantee you. I've always seen it, even throughout history and case history. Hey, you may be the little guy, but when you have somebody big step up, we'll cover those costs. We'll take care of that. Oh, hell no, we ain't have that, because if they do it to you, that's how they do it. They start small. They're aware of that. We know they're coming for us next, and we're not going to have that stuff.
And that's where I had to take a stance and like come out and tell my story, because a lot of us domestic violence survivors and people who've actually went through it, like, it's hard enough to speak up, but when you speak up and you're retaliated against time and time again, you get true strength. And then you find out who are true leaders and, who are followers in the pack, and there are a lot of good CPS workers that I've encountered. I have encountered good.
They don't last long. They quit. Yeah, they quit most of the time. The ones that are good, they're like, when I seen the things that I was seeing, I couldn't do this stuff no more.
No. They get out of it. They get burnt out.
Yeah. Well, the concept of, you have a CPS worker that has probably been sheltered most of their life, hasn't seen anything. And it cracks me up, especially certain ones. And I'm over here, and I'm a little bit older than most, but at the same time, to have a mid-20 little snot-nosed kid come up and tell me something when I've raised my children, and like, you done lost your damn mind. I'll knock you the hell out. I says, you ain't got no right telling me nothing. And I didn't take no crap when I raised my 3 kids. You know what I'm saying? There just ain't no damn way. I says, if somebody from the government comes up and tells me I'm done, listen, dude, if you better put cuffs on me, because the next ass whooping you're getting is going to be me. Because you can, that place all the way down. That's what. There's your one fuck. There's your fuck. Because that's the one I got. Because you know what you can do? You can fuck off all the way down there. Because I ain't got no time for you. And you're over here doing shit. You're going to tell me a 20-year-old snot kid that hasn't even got maybe even a baby to turn around and tell parents that have got kids that are, hey, I've got 2 or 3 rugrats running around, and they say, well, it's so easy. Yeah, it's so easy when you're babysitting day in, day out for months. Stay up with a baby or a toddler or something that's got like 102 fever that you're trying to break. Well, you should take them to the hospital. For what? For what? A fever? Yeah. We didn't run to the hospital for every little thing. See, there once again, what are you doing? That's medical neglect. No, that's called entrapment. And I says, and that's my choice whether or not I take them, because unless my child is very sick and I, having some sense with kids, with this, some things will run its course. That's just like the kid gets the flu. Well, you stay home, you rest up, you stay hydrated, you do. Starving fever, fever, cold, all these other things. We used to know how to take care of it, but we didn't have to run to the damn doctor to do what? Now you're forcing us to take a service we may not want or need, and then you bitch and complain about your ERs and all these other things overflow. Well, it's too much of a burden. We can't keep up. Quit creating the damn work.
Yeah.
There's things called over the counter for a reason. You got a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Here you go. Scrapes, bruises, anything else. Any of that stuff happens to a kid now, boom, CPS is right at your door. Well, we saw little Johnny, maybe he's getting abused. No, it's called being a fucking kid.
No, CPS in Oklahoma is inside the schools.
Well, not just the schools.
Yeah.
They actually have offices now in the hospitals.
Yep. I know. Yep. I did some digging and I found out, they contracted with schools and now they're inside the schools and literally hospitals.
You want to end that real quick? Everybody pull their kids out of school. Homeschooling.
Yep, exactly.
Take away their money. As soon as that number goes down, there's no way that CPS can work that much if you've got hundreds, if not thousands of kids, and then they could not even keep up if they saw a mass exodus like that. All of a sudden, we can't make
People
payroll.
pull your kids out of
We don't have
school.
students. Yeah.
That's where that's
homeschool.
why that they have involvement, is because the moment that they walk through that threshold and that they're on the school's property, they are government's property then.
Yep.
Because
you actually sign if your handbook, watch your handbooks, parents. Yep. You got a new school year. We got a school year ending right now. Everything's wrapping up, graduation, stuff like that. Next year, look at the handbooks they send home, and you guys always know that. Well, the child, if they're old enough, has to sign it, then you have to sign it. You are entering into contract every time you put your signature to anything for that school.
And
unless you put it on there, all rights reserved or waivers. Yes.
There is waivers that you can fill out so that you don't have to worry about medical neglect for your children, for flu vaccinations and stuff like that too, that you can literally send into your government too as well. So if they try to come back at you for not giving your kids vaccines, then you have that paper too, and you can also sue them for that too as well.
And you know what the easiest case to ever win? It's really not hard to take and do, is a First Amendment freedom of religion.
Yep.
It does not work. And you know who, every time they come through with it, look at some of the cases that you talk about, some of the better written stuff. Go look at the Amish.
Yep.
They
have hardly any autism or anything whatsoever, any cancer or anything else. Like if you look at their statistics and look at their health, they are the healthiest people ever.
And the number one for it is, one, they're not eating the food. They're eating old fashioned, the way it was done. On top of it, they realize with this that animals have this. Now, one, if you're I'm going to use the word conservationist because it's the proper word for those that hunt, because it is done for conservation, to control population so it doesn't overgrow and cause damage. And yes, the Fish and Wildlife Department does an excellent job in every state. When they go through this, they do surveys, they do this. There's a lot that goes into that. Listen, man, it's completely different. Those boys and girls, women, whatever it may be, whoever's working on it, he, she, it, whatever pronouns we want to use nowadays, I really don't give a shit. I'm just going to say, what the fuck? I'll call you by your name. That's about as far as it gets. The rest of it, I ain't getting into that. Hey, your feelings are your responsibilities. Let's make that really clear. How you feel about something, I'm not going to change it. I ain't going to convince you to change it. Why? Because that's your problem. All I'm going to do is give you the knowledge, the facts, and the information, and let you make your own decision. Why? Because that's where you should be.
Yep, exactly.
I'm not going to persuade you. I'm just going to tell you 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. It equals 2. We're going to go back to the old school method of doing some things that doesn't change. We ain't doing the Commie Core because, I went through all that, with the stuff with the public school system with old Common Core, or Commie Core, as I called it. No, you got to add 3, round up, and do this. And surprise, I go, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my work. You ever heard of a times table? We don't use those anymore. I go, that's the dumbest shit in the world. Why? Because it also teaches you charting. Yeah.
Well, and and people think just because you file a federal lawsuit, like even after you file a federal lawsuit, we both know you're still retaliated against. Like it doesn't stop.
Right. Correct. Actually, when it goes through here, not just Jesse K is here. It says usually the plaintiff can only claim pursuant to 3 or 4 different causes of action, labels such as willful misconduct, negligence, gross negligence, malice at crime. That is not true, because you can cite the fact that they have violated certain acts or other things. You're going to tie them to stuff criminally, is what you're going to do. Yeah, you can send me a message, Tina. But when you come down to those particular things, you can have multiple we'll say USC code, okay, violations that you're going to go. This is the criminal act they did. Now that comes with a amount. It depends on the severity of the case. And like I said, this is one thing I try to tell people. I don't do a lot of advocating. I do more educating. Why? Because you get into somebody's personal case, it is so, let alone my own, it is so deep and so entrenched and so much that can go in there of just like, okay, now, and this is why we educate, we teach, because if you know those things, understand doing one thing on paper is one thing, but if you can't go in the courtroom and clearly articulate your point of view, not just with your paperwork, you're going to lose your case. You may win it on paper, and there's been several attorneys that have done say, hey, I'll lose in court, but I'll get them on the appeal every time. There's attorneys that plan for that automatically from the beginning, knowing they're going to lose the first case, but then pick it apart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's strategy, and that's a different. But what does it do? Makes the lawyer more money.
Yeah.
But once again, fight in the right court.
And even then, sometimes, like if you study the law and you study, like I said, I came prepared, and you look into the statutes of like their policies and. For instance, this is Choctaw. My case is in Choctaw, even though I'm Cherokee,
Right.
But I look at their federal statutes because their statutes are different than Cherokee Nation's.
Correct.
And, and per jurisdiction, everything is different. So, you guys need to not only know like your constitutional laws, but also if you're tribal, know your tribal laws and your state statutes and everything else, and start like
state
putting your evidence
state, all that stuff in
all
there.
Of it.
And one state, and she's 100%. It's not just the tribes. Every state is a little bit different. It's now listen, some of them are lazy as fuck, and they literally copy and pasted shit. I'm not kidding. I've looked through their handbooks and the other stuff. I'm like, this is copy and paste. Like North and South Dakota, shame on you. Shame on both of you, because oh my God, you copied and you twinned one little thing, but other than that, it's the same thing. We just posted a different cover on it, and one for the other. And I'm just like over here on the side. I'm like, is this just like did we just? Well, we're going to make it one of ours. Well, instead of free thinking, let me just steal a copy of it, and that tells you how lazy people are. That they're not doing their job. They're not doing it. And here's the other thing with public schools that my biggest thing is, and why your kids should always be out of public school. Your children should be trained of their constitutional, especially their civil rights, the Constitution, and how to file just a basic lawsuit or anything else, and understanding of their government by the time they graduate high school. And because they fail to do that, I believe, in my personal opinion, all federal funding should be cut from all public schools in every single state, just due to the fact that that is not a mandatory requirement. And it gives it opens up the American people generation after generation to be taken advantage of. And now that's why we're in the way we are. This is why our kids have been trafficked for the past couple of decades. This is why Epstein's have been able to come in. Diddy's have been able to come in and do the stuff they have. And yes, they're all connected to CPS, but yet nobody does nothing. And it's like, the attorney general that first came on during this recent administration. Well, if I took and arrested everybody, the government would shut down. And we, the people, are over there like, we don't give a shit. We are the government.
If they do.
Tear that motherfucker down.
We're self-reliant over here. We're self-reliant.
What are you doing for me? Because half of the politicians and everything else are about as useless as tits on a bull, so to speak.
And not only that, but you gave us the pandemic to teach us to stay at home, to learn those resources during that point in time.
Right. I love to use that one when a lot of people turn around and says, listen, they're trying to force me to take immunizations or do this or do that. And you just turn around and go, hey, how did that work out for you for that COVID-19 bullshit that everybody's now got crimes against humanity and all the other stuff that's in there? Oh, wait, didn't you guys just release a bunch of cancer cures and everything else you've been holding on to at the CIA and all this other stuff? Well, what about this? Well, that, and you want me to trust you? I have no faith in my government.
None.
And this is where now, do we need to reset? Do I think we're resetting? Yes, I'm seeing it slowly. We've had, in the past 2 weeks, mainly this past week, we've had the ATF come back and completely sanitize and constitutionalize all their policies and procedures enough to say, we are no longer going to do this or enforce this. Why? Because Congress didn't pass it. We made it up. Uh-oh. Then you have what? Our good old friend EPA. Now, we all know what EPA does, how they love to just, well, we need to put a filter and catch as much of this and that and do all this other stuff. Listen, conservation is good. It's good for the animals and some of the other things, but you're attacking homeowners and people and not in industrial. That's the problem. There's the biggest problem. You want to listen, you want to cure pollution in all 50 states? I've got the answer. Once again, we're going to go with the clean air. If you really wanted clean air, to be honest, you would allow hemp and marijuana to grow in all 50 states. Why? Because look at the oxygenation to carbon ratio that a plant like the hemp or marijuana plant does compared to a damn forest full of trees. Exactly. It outperforms it, outscrubs it every single time. And if you were smart, those particular farms or anything else would be bringing that air and that pollution into these things to, one, nurture them because they're going to flourish with everything else that they've got, but having that open to the area to absorb it all from the area. So many of those planned out per square mile or, a farm, so many acres to do this, to clean the air. It makes sense. But we don't live around our food anymore because why? They wanted us to quit eating food. And then now let's go back to the domestic violence thing. And a lot of people haven't dealt with this, both on men and women. And this is not one-sided.
No,
it's our food. Not. Our food. Mm-hmm. What if the food had hormones and things that were in us that caused a chemical reaction in the brain, which we know it does, to cause the divorce rate to go up, to have the anger issues, to have the sense of not feeling content, of always wanting something? I've got to fill this void. I got to fill this void. I got to do this. I got just be at peace and stand still, which one of the things they definitely do not want from a lot of the tribes. Now, listen, I've visited most of the tribes. Matter of fact, I actually helped build a house for a woman on the Navajo reservation over there in Red Rock. I want to call it Red Rock. Shiprock, out towards Shiprock, out that way at the Navajo Res. So for a medicine woman, I actually took a summer off and I went and helped build a house on the reservation. And I know people that are from all different, Iroquois, Cherokee, all these different, they're around us all over the place, guys. I mean, they really are.
Yep. And we use, and that's one thing about our tribe is we're more herbal, and that goes into mm-hmm. traditional, just like hunting, and that's another thing, you brought up earlier, hunters and stuff like that, and even us, Cherokee people, we used to hunt before, and now they're saying that we have stipulations even on that. And it's wait, there's a lot into it. But I was shocked by everything when I went through my case, and because I used to have faith that the government, was good until I seen the opposite side of it. And then I'm like, absolutely not. I put myself on my path, and now I've got to literally prepare for a protective order against the state of Oklahoma tomorrow. So that's what I get to do in the next 10 minutes and try to plead my case with that. And, God has blessed me because your girl came prepared with all the evidence I'm bringing with, my law, because, I'm bringing all the evidence of everything.
You've got into that file cabinet's full.
Yeah.
You're going to get from a basket, guys. When you're doing this, trust me, you're going to go from, I'm going to have binders, or I'm going to have some sort of organization. Now I got a milk crate.
This isn't even half of it either. I mean, it's crazy. It gets crazy. I mean, you're navigating motions, you're navigating attorneys, you're navigating that all while handling your trauma. I mean, all at the same time. And it's and it's hard. And, I always say healed people heal people, and hurt people hurt people. And mm-hmm. that's the motto I've lived by, is I went through all of this, but at the end of the day, if I can save one family, if I can save one kid, then all of this for me, was worth it.
Well,
You know?
let's put it this way, and I can give several situations, but to give this one, to give a couple examples. One, with the things that go on and the evil that's out in the world, when CPS comes in like this, and then they do so much wrong, they put other people or one or both people in a predicament to where, had CPS not been involved or anything else, one, they probably could have got to the real root of the problem or the case if there was something going on, such as abuse and neglect, and they're going to go for the quickest, fastest fall guy, and that's not always the way it is, because they don't even follow the evidence. That's
Yeah.
how ignorant they are. I mean, this is why they shouldn't deal with these cases, because they're not cops.
Yeah.
They're not trained. They're just, they're out of college, little snot-nosed little kids with no experience. Listen, the police force, even with the police force, they have a way of doing it. Law enforcement, sheriff's office, whatever it may be. Listen, you're going to be a deputy or a low-end person for the longest time until you move up. There's classes you got to take. There's so much experience you got to have. You don't start out as a captain or chief of police, those type of things or anything like that without having some experience. You're not going to get a 20-year-old to do this stuff. This is stupid. Why? You've got no experience. And with dealing with children, come on, man.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of snot-nosed kids
somebody's
who
gotta step
probably
up
haven't
for
even got
children.
laid yet to even have kids. You got a bunch of wannabes out there that are jealous because nobody's going to deal with them, especially with everything that's going on in our country between relationships and everything, the way it's been destroyed, especially by the younger generation. Now nobody wants to get married. Nobody wants to take that chance. They don't want to go through this. Why? They've seen their parents go through divorce, lose everything, rebuild. They don't want to deal with it. And that's why you're going to find those numbers are dwindling like crazy. Why? CPS is literally destroying the reason for between that, the family, the food, the hormone. I mean, we've got so much on us, and then they fill your head with a bunch of things. But one thing that you don't see them do is consume. They want you to do is consume, consume, consume. But how many people are out there talking about peace, tranquility? So a lot of the tribal places that I went to and this and that, it's always about constantly fighting that battle with finding balance. And that is life itself. It's a constant balance between good and evil, or some of the old sayings that I remember they go through. It's, you have two wolves in you, and which one's going to grow stronger? It's the one you feed. Which one are you feeding? I mean, but find peace. You want to find balance. You want to live in harmony with everything. And with CPS, I mean, this is some of the things that's why they're destroying the tribes that I've seen, because I've looked at the culture of the Cherokee, the Navajo, and some of those different ones, and had those in-depth conversations enough to turn around and say, but what is it about? And it's like having peace, honoring those things that, understanding life, even when they kill, they're not out there with, it's funny. It's like, they're not out there with guns or anything else. What do you mean? They're out there a lot of times, they have restrictions that they have to use. They can use a compound bow, but most of them even say you have to do a recurve, those type of things. So there's some there's a lot of that stuff that's out there that I don't think a lot of people understand it, and that's where we need to be encouraging each other, especially with the healing part, is get to the point you heal and have peace. But going back to that other thing is just saying sometimes there are unique opportunities because of the way things fell into place. You're now eliminating a choice from one or the other person
and
to
you kind of
turn around and possibly doing the good thing.
Forgive that person, those people, to get to the point to where you can heal, to like fight for your case too, to where it's using that pain for purpose instead of like using it as hate to like go pour into something else that could cause somebody else hurt. It's not taking money from people. And I see a lot of advocates, and that's one thing that honestly pisses me off. Like, I'm an advocate, and one thing I've noticed is advocates are taking money from these people who are already traumatized and being like, hey, I'm going to help you on your legal case. And they're sitting here taking money from these people that they know have already been traumatized by the system. And it's like, no, like I don't team up with people that are like that, because like that's wrong. Like, you're benefiting off of somebody else's pain. Like, and I just move with purpose in everything that I do, because I'm like, I can only control what the actions at the end of the day of what
Yeah,
I do
and
of
yeah,
it.
and there's some people, to be dead honest with you, and you know this, you've done some of this stuff too, that some people just will not help themselves. They are much more accustomed to, I would rather pay somebody to do this for me than do it myself, because they don't have the capability of doing a pro se sui juris
Yeah.
type of filing to represent themselves. And you've had a lot of people with I'm in the same hometown of Jessica Saxton, so a lot of the stuff with Jessica, that's how Jessica and I kind of, she's been on the show a few times, and we're both from Blount County, Tennessee. And believe it or not, we actually had the same magistrate and judge. That's how corrupt it was.
Believe
So,
it or not, she was under the judge that I was under too.
oh wow, yeah,
Yeah, she
small
came
world.
to Oklahoma for Casey Hunt's case,
Yeah.
her and him, and it was under the same judge that I was under, Laura Russell. So one of my corrupt judges, Jessica and them actually got to see firsthand in my case,
Mm.
and it was just like, and they had to get out of Oklahoma because they were threatened and retaliated against in Oklahoma
Yeah.
too. Like, I mean, people are speaking out and are on the move for these. And we do have, I personally like Jessica. Jessica and me have always gotten along. She is a strong
Right.
advocate. I've worked with Rosario Chico. She's in Oklahoma. She's actually a DHS agent. And get this, Rosario's case, for you guys thinking that CPS just comes and takes your kids, Rosario works for the state of Oklahoma. They retaliated and fired her. And then the Supreme Court had to rehire Rosario back. And then we have the Gabe Woolley case in Oklahoma. I mean, there's a lot of high conflict, major cases that are happening in the state of Oklahoma right now. That we're fighting
People are
legally through the system.
well, and people are speaking up too, not just in Oklahoma. This is happening in Tennessee with Connie Bergouli's got stuff filed. I've got stuff filed. I think Jessica's getting ready to file some of her stuff. I've got people in Florida. I've got people in Georgia. I've got, all of a sudden people are waking up, but they're learning how to file because they're over here. Well, I can't find a federal attorney. You won't.
You won't. They're too
You
scared.
won't. You're going to have to do this.
They have the bar cards. They have the bar
Union
cards. If they have the bar cards, they're going to be retaliated against. It's literally attorney suicide for them to take on cases that are so high conflicting, because they ruin their career. If they do good, they ruin their career. If they do bad, they get sued.
Let me correct this though, and let me explain that too. They were never meant to. Under the Constitution, it was our responsibility. But we have entrusted them, once again, the government, which was a huge mistake, to do the education. Yeah. So now we don't know how to file those federal suits. We don't know how to go through this. We don't know how our court systems work. We do this, and then when we're faced with something like this, we're behind the 8 ball on a system that's corrupt. And then you pick it out for this, and then you go down those rabbit holes. And then all of a sudden it takes you, 3 or 4 years or whatever. Now you're versed in it, depending on your learning curve, to go through it. Now I understand this stuff. Now I know where to go. Now I'm going to do this, this, and this. And now I'm going to do this. And that's been part of the journey that I've done, is as I've gone through this, as I found this, hey, don't forget this, don't do this.
You've learned along the way.
Every bit of it. And there's so many out there that I even tried to hire a federal attorney. And you know what the federal attorney did? Broke the confidence that we had, assigned it to another attorney that I didn't even know it was to, and another attorney wrote the motion, which was shit. That I've got a federal lawsuit against him, along with some other people that was doing that. And the funny thing is he was a January 6th person.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They pass it to one to another, but like I said, I've got to get off here tonight because I've got to file those motions and you guys just pray for my case, because this could put Oklahoma in Indian territory to do the right thing. So I'm hopeful. I know I have all my evidence ready for tomorrow. So
show it to the chief. If I was the chief, that woman came on tribal land or whoever did, I would have put arrest warrants out for him, including kidnapping. And And those are serious charges, and that'll get the governors. Wait a minute, you're holding a state worker? Yes, I am. They violated the treaty. They didn't have permission. They didn't come nowhere near, and there was no eminent. We're gonna stop this, and we're gonna stand as a nation and understand this. This is gonna stop to our tribal children. But here's the thing: it's going to take a strong leader to not be diplomatic, but to be with cause and with heart for their people, to say this will not be tolerated anymore. And I think that's the conversation as you move forward, or feel free to share it. Say, hey, go on YouTube and go watch the one that I was on here and listen to what it says. Of basically, listen, man, grow a pair, get a spine, do what's right for your people, because they did it to you, and you've got a treaty that says that's an act of war.
Yeah, it is.
You need to understand that that's an act of war. Do you want to go to war?
It is. And then not only that, but the punishments behind those is you are on reservation, and we do have sovereignty. So like, it's like, you know, your state workers, no matter what their policy is, like this is federal, land. You know, like, and it's like, no, like you're going to find out quick that your policies don't mean anything.
No.
And
they think they have their jurisdiction goes to anybody, everybody. And this is the policies and procedures of the state Department of Children and Family Services. And it's not just Oklahoma, it's all of them. They are pushing to make that money so bad and meet those quotas to get that funding. We've covered that on the other show, that most states run on those Title IV checks. If not, a lot would shut down. But if people would stand up and fight, one, get educated, guys, that's going to be the biggest thing. Megan, thanks for having on here, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up.
Good luck to you. I pray for you always and your family, that you're safe. And, you know, and if you guys need help, like, reach out to me, because I unravel corruption too. Like, we're all in this together, and it takes a team of people to stand up for what's right. And if we have a common goal of the children, then we're on the right path to get back our government that was just overturned by all of this, you know. So thank you so much, Gunner. I appreciate you.
Hey, it's just me. So like I said, my kids are grown, so my cases are closed and everything else. So it's just little old me. That's all it is. So, and that's been in the fight. Like I said, I've had to make some changes and things. Like I said, when they push you to do things, they destroy people. They destroy people's lives. But once again, if you're focused in on your task, you zero in on the enemy. And once again, you give them the thing. I will not let you breathe. You got to understand, you do this for a paycheck. I do this for entertainment. Yeah, and exactly. I'm here to come after you. And I think getting together, more people speaking up, I think this is where our power is, because like I said, we get that decision that nullifies in my federal case filing, that would nullify Oklahoma, everything. In other words, any case the state has heard where CPS has come in and they've gone into your state, it's now null and void. That means they're going to recollect their money, investigations go on, go get your damn kids. Yeah. I don't think people understand that. And it's the first of its kind in history. Once again, keeping up the fight and educating, once again, passing the word along. And guys, don't let me make this one thing here real too for our audience. One, I am on TikTok. The show is on TikTok. I had to jump through hoops because they canceled me like several years ago and then blocked me. But I got a way to get on with the news. But I got to get up to, and thanks again, Megan. She dropped out there. I keep her held up. But guys, don't forget on the TikTok, get up there to the 1,000 people. We're slowly growing our numbers there. If you guys are on that particular social media platform, don't forget to educate everybody when it comes down to where we can be found. Go back to YouTube, other stories and stuff like that. But guys, we've got to learn to stand together. We've got to start making our voices heard, and because why? We have power in numbers. I mean, if a warden's biggest fear is the inmates completely shutting down and not working, and that will get change of anything else, why? We're not going to do this, and now you're in contract. Now you're going to lose your contract. You're going to lose the jail. Then what are you going to do? You're going to move me. So why? This jail is not doing what it is. We have that same power as we the people. And I think we need to remember that. We need to educate that. Once again, they prey on your ignorance. That's why we always say, who are you going to piss off today with your knowledge and education? Because when you come equipped with knowledge, education, and the truth, and you can throw it right back in their face, corruption only gets so far. Because A lot of times your local state will correct it because they don't want the lawsuits. Now it's a liability. You go after them personally till you figure out that it goes all the way up the ladder. Well, then you got a whole different story. Then you end up with something different. But guys, I appreciate you joining me once again this evening. I appreciate Megan coming on, sharing her story. There's a man, guys. There's a lot. There's a lot going on,
The
man.
system has
Um,
fallen.
we just have to work better. We got to stay
County
educated. We got to talk
CPS.
to each other. We got to dump that information. And, every case is different. Remember that. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up for this week. This is Gunner with Gunning for CPS, signing off for this time. Catch us again next week and every Sunday, as I'm healthy, we'll put there, to watch Gunning for CPS right here on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch. And as soon as I get done here, I'll be uploading it. Yes, you can catch us out on Spotify. That's right. At the end of every show, I take and do an audio only on Spotify. We got a couple weeks up there. Go subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to follow us on TikTok and get the information out, guys. We need that information to get those numbers up so we can go live there and reach more people on that platform. We appreciate your help, guys. Without people like you out there sharing your stories, telling the truth, exposing the lies and the corruption, this is how this stuff is brought down. This is why we are different than any other nation, because it is about we the people. And if we will not allow it, it cannot be. It's just as simple as that. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate you. We'll see you again next week. And don't forget to piss somebody off this week with your knowledge and education. And keep digging. Don't give up. Don't give in. I know you sometimes, a lot of you feel like you're at the end of your rope, but listen, persevere. Dig in there. Why? Because change is coming. Thanks again, guys. Have a great week.
Here's a separation pain they try to hide. Your gunner stands unbreakable, fueled by righteous pride. Blount County DCS crossed the final line. Now the lawsuit strikes like lightning, exposing every crime. No mercy for tyrants hiding behind the state. The people are awake and they seal your fate. Power you abuse will crumble into dust. The Father's war is raging, injustice we trust. Feel the ground shake, hear the thunder roll. The truth is a weapon and it's claiming its toll. This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers bringing the storm. Blount County CPS, your reign is time. The reckoning. Justice screams your name in fire. For every stolen child, for every broken empire. The reckoning is here. Burn higher. You took the innocent. You destroyed the home. Now the reckoning rises. And you stand alone. No more lies. No more chains. Gonna ever sway. Break the chains. Break the chains. Break the chains. This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers leads the fight. Blount County CPS disappearing from sight. The reckoning. Your kingdom falls tonight. For every parent rising, for every child set free. The reckoning is here. Victory. Gunner Evers, still standing tall. Blount County CPS, the reckoning has only just begun. The truth cannot be silenced. Justice will be done!